It's time for corrections. I'm gonna just jump right into it, you guys. We had a joke and a closer look about a note, the sort of note you would pass in high school, and we spelled later L8, the number 8, T-E-R. Many of you pointed out you wouldn't need the T, because the 8 has a T in it. It would be L8-E-R would be the correct way to spell that. A lot of you said that. We've learned our lesson, and, you know, just a reminder to anyone who wants to be that nitpicky, you can go 8 a bag of 6. Is that right? There's no sailor in the Village People, but this is a weird gray area because we only said it as Donald Trump. And I do think Donald Trump would think there was a sailor in the Village People because of the song In the Navy. He would hear that and then just assume that maybe all of them were also sailors as sort of a second job. People can have 2 jobs. Also, someone wrote, according to the cop, this is something a jackal wrote, according to the cop, YMCA is just about the YMCA. Which is probably what, they told him because he was the cop. He said, hey guys, before we record this, I just want to make sure there's no subtext to this, right? Because we got a lot of friends on the force. Also, it's crazy. So nice to be a Republican because Trump just walks out to gay anthems all the time, knowing he's just safe from criticism. No Democratic politician would risk walking out to YMCA or Macho Man. They would think they'd get attacked on Fox News for weeks. Donald Trump's got the same playlist as a pride parade. Just walking out, I'm coming out. I think I walk out to Born This Way. Then I talk about how the American family is under attack. And then I exit to It's Raining Men. We made a joke about a Prius, but in the graphic, it was a Subaru Outback. So, of course, I went down to graphics and I said, do you guys know I wanted a Prius and you gave me an Outback? And they said, oh, no. Are you gonna take us out back? I was like, Jesus Christ. We mentioned a law firm in the Vatican, a commercial for a law firm in the Vatican where you dialed 1-800, and it was pointed out that the country code in the Vatican is 379. So you would have to dial 379 if you wanted to call a lawyer in the Vatican. And this is interesting. All the attorneys in the Vatican are defense attorneys. Okay. So this was something that was sent in, and this is very hard for me to read because I don't wear glasses. Oh, there it is. Okay. So we were talking about how I mixed up Michelangelo and Da Vinci, and I sort of said, yeah, but without their bandanas, how can you tell them apart? And someone said, you said you couldn't tell them apart without their bandanas. I get that this is a joke about the Ninja Turtles. However, there is no Da Vinci Ninja Turtle, only a Leonardo, so the joke falls apart there. I would argue it fell apart far earlier. Let's see. We talked about Edvard. I said Munch. It's pronounced Edvard Munch. Edvard Munch. It's a K sound. And then I did some reading about Edvard Munch. He went to the Royal School of Art and Design in Norway. He studied in Paris and Berlin. He suffered from OCD, which actually made him very helpful to the local police department that would go to him for his help solving crimes. They would say, get me Munch. who was never married, and had a girlfriend. And when he showed her, it was a heartbreaking story. When he showed her the Scream, you know, she just looked at it and said, she goes, "Oh, so you're the biggest, oh." Oh, she said, "Oh, you're the most famous Norwegian painter? That don't impress me, monk." There was a musical about his life. It was true. There was a musical about his life. Came out recently. This is true. Called Dear Edvard. And critics said, if you meant to buy a ticket for Dear Evan Hansen, this is the worst possible outcome. So much screaming. We told a joke about cats with arthritis, how there was a new treatment for cats with arthritis, which replaced the old treatment of a brick in a burlap sack. A lot of cat lovers were in the comment section and very upset. One went so far to say, can you imagine telling that joke about a dog? And I would never do that because people like dogs. We said if there had been voter fraud in Vermont, Rudy would have done a press conference at Burlington Coat Factory. I was told it's the Burlington Township, New Jersey, is why it's the Burlington Coat Factory. But I think Rudy, again, artistic license, I don't think Rudy knows that. So I think we get away with that one. We also, though, talked about Rudy breaking into the Shawshank prison, that he would do the reverse. Andy Dufresne would break out, and Rudy would break in, and he would be happy because there would be a bed and a toilet and a poster of Rita Hayworth. Again, multiple jackals pointed out that when Andy Dufresne escaped, it wasn't a Rita Hayworth poster, it was a Raquel Welch poster. And one person who said that followed up by saying, I guess you could say what I've just given you is a Shawshank correction. Leave it to the professionals, guys. Because that don't impress me, Monk. Last week's correction, I talked about a mistake I made, how I said, I referred to someone as a Chewbacca. Chewbacca is the name, Wookiee is the species. And then right after I clarified that, I referred to a vampire as a Dracula. And many of you said, dude, you just made the same mistake twice. The mistake you just corrected, you did again. It's almost like I did it on purpose. Oh, we had a joke about there was a tree named after Leo DiCaprio, and then we said it's now dating a sapling, and we put up a picture, but the picture was a seedling, and I wanted to apologize, and I said I wanted to apologize to all the tree enthusiasts, and I was told that a word for tree enthusiasts is dendrophile. And if you like seedlings, it's pendrophile. And if you were a pendrophile who's looking to talk to some, like-minded people, you want to pick up the phone. It's country code 379. Did a joke about the Olive Garden and said when you're here, your family. That's not Olive Garden's slogan anymore, Shoemaker. Do you know whose slogan it is now? Jimmy Fallon got the rights to that slogan. Do you even remember that? He got the rights to it. They stopped using it. The Olive Garden stopped using it. Fallon reached out, said, can we use it? And they gave it to him in 2013. And so at first I was like, well, I never got my own slogan, from a restaurant. But, you know, he's the Tonight Show and we're late night. But then I did the math. That was when he had late night. So, you know, I marched up to the brass. You know, I don't mind talking to the brass when I feel as though I've been slighted. But I said, you know, I want one. So, you know, that's the problem, though, of course, is then you can't be picky when they get you one. But we do have a new slogan. And you'll see it with the next time you see a promo. If you see like a promo of ours in SNL this week, after update, probably right before Good Nights, maybe. It'll say, you know, it'll say my guest and whatever, and it'll say, you know, watch this week on Late Night with Seth Meyers. No one out pizzas the Hut. They can't be picky. They said it could have been worse. I guess the other option was we speak fish. It's long. It's Long John. It's long. Thomas Jefferson's. We talked about Thomas Jefferson and inventions. I said he invented the polygraph, which was when you, it wasn't a lie detector, but it's two pens attached so that when you write in duplicate. I guess pantograph is technically how you would say that. You know, when you look up, because I did, you know, I try to do my research before corrections because obviously I take it deeply seriously. And some people say Thomas Jefferson invented the dumbwaiter or the pedometer, but the more you read, the more you realize he just like they had those things in France and then he came back. It was like, look what I invented, but he just like bought it there. Which sounds like something. That does sound like something. Like, we all respect Thomas Jefferson so much, but that is definitely a thing you would think that Trump would have done. Just like gone abroad and like come back, like gone to the Middle East and been like, I've got a new bread. It's a circular flatbread. It's a pouch. Also, one thing he brought from Naples, it was purchased for Thomas Jefferson in Naples, or as Shoemaker says, Napoli. My favorite pizza. Was a macaroni machine. And a lot of people say that Thomas Jefferson popularized macaroni and cheese in the United States because he got from Naples this macaroni machine. But again, he did not invent macaroni and cheese. I think we can all agree, Thomas Jefferson's best invention was when he had to invent an excuse for why Sally Hemings' kids had his eyes. Because Martha walked in and was like, I have a question. He was like, I have two questions. Do you like macaroni and cheese? Well, I feel like this was really fun. And, you know, I really wanted to do the don't impress me monk thing when I thought it was munch. I think it would have gone better. But I also wanted to get it right. All right. Bye.